The next certification that was transformational for me, actually it was a program. I'm going to drop back a moment. A program I took with Simone Soul and David Bedrick was called the Shame Clinic. Now, obviously I signed up for the Shame Clinic, right? Because I'm an after abortion life coach, and shame is one of the main things my clients navigate, explore, try and let go of, make peace with. No, that's not true. Nobody makes peace with shame. But when I initially said makes peace with, what I meant was accept that it's part of our experience. So a lot of time, like, we don't even want to admit that we have shame, but accepting that, like, oh, that thing that I'm experiencing is coming from shame. So the Shame Clinic helped me. It was the first certification where, I'm sorry, it wasn't a certification. It was the first program where I really got so curious about getting inside a client's thoughts, but more importantly, the origin stories of their thoughts. So where is this shame coming from? What moment did this shame take its grip? And how might we curiously together go back and explore that moment in a way that sees that person, sees that event, acknowledges and validates what was happening for that person in that moment? It's easy to think that shame comes from other people's opinions, but shame also comes from our coping mechanisms and how we protect ourselves and then later judge ourselves for the ways we protected ourselves. It's like sometimes these concepts are a little hard to explain without concrete places. So let's go back to my own personal story. When I had my abortion, I've said many, many times, one of the hardest parts was afterwards, when I realized that an organization that I admired and respected for postpartum loss, perinatal loss, didn't support me, right? It wasn't a place for me. With an elective abortion for lifestyle reasons, there wasn't a place for me to be healed in that community. That created for me a lot of feelings, but one of the feelings it created for me was shame. I'm not good enough for them. My abortion doesn't count for their love and support. My grief doesn't matter in their parameters. And so even though I knew intellectually that they were doing what they needed to do for their community, and I was having an experience that didn't fit into their community, I had shame. I felt like they're recognizing that they were not there to support me through my grief made me feel small. It made me feel wrong. It made me feel judged. I'm not saying they were doing any of those things, because I don't think actively they were intending to. But what I needed, instead of being told you don't belong here, which is essentially what their website said, I needed to be seen. Your experience matters. I needed someone in that moment when I realized they weren't going to support me. I needed someone to acknowledge that feeling and what it was like to be inside my body at that moment. And then to offer me the kind of transformation that would honor that moment. So shame is one of those things that I think we understand, but it's very complex and it's very layered, and it is about being seen and acknowledged. But there's some really special ways we can explore shame in which we're seeing and validating our own experience. And so that's the most important thing I learned from the Shame Clinic.